To access the NEE PowerHub, you first log into the NEE data tool, then click Peer Observation on the left menu. And then from here, we'll click Create/Edit Peer Observation. You see a list of all of our previous peer observations, but right now we're going to create a new one. So let's click New Peer Observation, this gold button at the top. There's going to be 3 sections to our peer observation form. Our first step is to create and complete the pre-observation plan. So the pre-observation plan, our first question here is to select the type of observation we're going to be doing. We can select whether a colleague is going to observe me, whether I'm going to complete a self-reflection, or whether I'm going to observe a colleague. For this example, I'll select a colleague observes me. And then we're going to select the person who's going to be doing our observation. So I'm going to say Sherry Coach is going to come observe Chuck experience. The next prompt is to select people to share the observation with. This is an optional step. You don't have to select anybody here, but let's say I want to also share this with my principal. So I'll select Kathy Principal during this step. Next, we select an indicator from the list. So this is going to be the instructional strategy that we want to focus on during the observation. So we're really just only focused on one instructional strategy during the observation. For this example, I'll select indicator 5.1, teacher motivationally engages students. Our next box is our peer observation video link. So if I'm doing a self-reflection or if I'm conducting an observation asynchronously, I could put a link here to do that observation. Finally, we're going to have a question about what should be the focus of this observation. So we've already selected the indicator that we want our colleague to observe and provide feedback on. This box just allows us to add some extra details about what we want that observing teacher to specifically look for or keep in mind during the observation. At this point, we've completed our pre-observation planning. We can scroll down to the bottom of this form and select Save. Then we're going to go take a look at what Sherry sees on her side. Now you can see I'm logged in as Sherry Coach, and I can see that Chuck just asked me to come observe him. This is the top peer observation form under my list. I'm going to click this Edit button, and I can click in to see what Chuck just submitted to me. So up here at the top, we see his plan. These are not things that I can edit. These are things that he created. But as we scroll down, I can enter my observation data. So this section is going to be what Sherry is responsible for as far as the observation itself. We can change the observation date if we need to. Chuck can also edit this observation date as well. And then we'll just enter our notes and comments here. So any notes that we're taking during the observation, what we're noticing in relation to this indicator 5.1 that Chuck has selected. Once I'm done with this step, I'll once again go down and click the Save button. I'm done with my observation, and then we're going to go take one more look at what Chuck sees. Okay, once again, we're logged in as Chuck Experience up here at the top. We're going to click back into our newly created peer observation form. We can now see that Sherry has entered notes here. This is not something that we can edit as the teacher who was observed, but we can see what their notes were. So our final step of our peer observation form is to complete the post-observation reflection. The first question here is, what do we notice about the observation data? So this question is really designed to focus our attention on the data that was collected, really just the facts. What are we noticing? Second question, what does it mean for our instructional practice? So this is where we can assign value to the notes that were taken by the teacher who is doing the observation. So if we're trying to improve on one of our instructional practices, this is where we can kind of extrapolate that data and see what we might want to change or put as an improvement goal in this section. Finally, we're going to commit to taking some next steps. So the last section of the organizer allows the teacher to set a specific short-term goal for what we want to try in the classroom and to help evaluate our efforts toward meeting that improvement goal. So we can set our goals here. Last step is to complete it. So once we're happy with what this looks like, we'll select this complete box and we're going to finally click Save. And at that point, our peer observation is complete.